Hey guys, this is the second part of Weston Road. This is within the City of Vaughan in the regional municipality of York, just north of the City of Toronto. Vaughan was the fastest growing municipality in Canada between 1996 and 2006, with its population increasing by 80.2% during this time period and having nearly doubled in population since 1991. In 2021, the population of Vaughan was 323,103. It is the fifth largest city in the Greater Toronto Area and the 17th largest city in Canada. In the late pre-contact period, the Huron-Wendat people populated what is today Vaughan. The Scanditude ancestral Wendat village overlooked the east branch of the Humber River, Pine Valley Drive, and was once home to approximately 2,000 Huron in the 16th century. The site is close to a Huron ossuary, mass grave, uncovered in Kleinburg in 1970, and 1 kilometer north of the Seed Barker Huron site. The first European to pass through Vaughan was the French explorer Etienne Brulé, who traversed the Humber Trail in 1615. However, it was not until townships were created in 1792 that Vaughan began to see European settlements, as it was considered to be extremely remote, and the lack of roads through the region made travel difficult. Despite the hardships of pioneer life, settlers came to Vaughan in considerable numbers. The population grew from 19 men, 5 women, and 30 children in 1800 to 4,300 in 1840. The first people to arrive were mainly Pennsylvania Germans, with a smaller number of families of English descent and a group of French royalists. This migration from the United States was by 1814 superseded by immigrants from Britain. While many of their predecessors had been agriculturalists, the newer immigrants were highly skilled tradespeople, useful for a growing community. Among the facilities established by this group were a number of hamlets, the oldest of which was Thornhill, where a sawmill was erected in 1801, a grist mill in 1815, and had a population of 300 by 1836. Other such enclaves included Kleinburg, Coleraine, Rupertville, Maple, Richmond Hill, Teston, Clairville, Pine Grove, Carville, Patterson, Burlington, Concord, Edgeley, Fisherville, Elders Mills, Elgin Mills, Jefferson, Nashville, Purpleville, Richvale, Sherwood, Langstaff, Valour, and Berwick, Woodbridge. In 1846, the township was primarily agricultural, but had a population of 4,300. There were 6 grist mills and 25 sawmills. By 1935, there were 4,873 residents. However, World War II sparked an influx of immigration, and by 1960, the population stood at 15,957. The ethno-cultural composition of the area began to change with the arrival of different groups, such as Italians, Jews, and Eastern Europeans. Incorporated in 1850 as Vaughan Township, a municipal government was established, and meetings were held at the Township Hall, Vaughan Memorial Hall, in Valour. Vaughan Road was a historic road constructed in 1850 that linked Vaughan Township with Toronto. It incorporated parts of present-day Dufferin Street north of Eglinton Avenue in Toronto, though all that remains of it today is the separate alignment farther south, running through the eastern half of the former City of York. And Highway 7 was built from Vaughan to Thornhill between 1928 and 1932, and Highway 400 to Barrie completed in 1951. Starting in the late 1950s, major municipal roads including Bathurst, Dufferin, Jane, and Keele streets that had been gravel were starting to be paved in the municipality. In 1971, the new regional government of York Region was established, acquiring policing and welfare services from the communities it served. Simultaneously, the township merged with the village of Woodbridge to form the town of Vaughan. In 1991, it changed its legal status to City of Vaughan. 2 F2 tornadoes tore through the city of Vaughan during the Southern Ontario tornado outbreak on August 20th, 2009. Premier Dalton McGuinty and Mayor Linda Jackson toured the destruction the next day and reported 200 homes in critical shape and as many as 600 additional homes likely to be demolished. The tornadoes also ripped up trees, flipped cars, and left thousands of people without electricity. Vaughan declared a state of emergency because of the widespread damage. No deaths were reported from the tornadoes, but one man who was injured in the storms suffered a heart attack the following morning. North American telephone customers placing calls to Vaughan may not recognize the charge details on their billings. Although Vaughan has been a single municipality since 1971, the local incumbent local exchange carrier, Bell Canada, splits the city into 3 historical rate centers: Kleinburg, Maple, and Woodbridge. Part of the Thornhill Rate Center extends into Vaughan. Indeed, Vaughan does not even appear in the telephone book.